Hello and welcome to this video. And today I happen to be feeling a lot of invisibility and kind of like, do I even exist? Do I even matter? And I thought, why not just try and unpack all of this and see where that leads me today. So the topic of invisibility is actually really dear to heart to me, very personal, and I was feeling alone because that's kind of the point of it, is when you're feeling invisible and question whether you exist and if anything you do matters. Actually, it makes you feel like you're alone, but I understood that I don't think that I'm alone out there. So this is to all of you who also feel invisible sometimes or often, doesn't really matter. And for all these times when that hurt and everything comes up. And so I wonder, how does it start? For me, like, it started this time. I was just treated not in a nice way by some people. Not even not in a nice way, but just below my standards or how I want to be treated. And I was thinking, wow, like how easy it is. It's just like, for a few actions throughout the day to just affect me and, well, I guess those of us who have this trauma of invisibility, to affect us so much. And at the same time, I was thinking how used are we in society to just be invisible in general, to just be forgotten, impactless, and how normal and normalized it is to actually treat each other like shit. Well, obviously, I mean, we do go to wars. Our governments do go to wars with each other and all of that, and the world is I wanted to say less than perfect, but it's just imperfect, and everyone's fighting for survival. And so we are surviving at the cost of someone else feeling invisible. If you look at like the homeless, or let's say orphans, or animals even, or factory farming, it's all just someone else always gets pushed down and pushed away for someone else's, I don't want to say pedestal, but in a way pedestal for someone else's significance. And we push down and make invisible so many people who are or could be very good at some other thing, something that we are even too blind to see, because all we care about is our own survival and our own sense of significance, which is ironic also because I am talking to you about, well, I started this video about my own sense of invisibility and insignificance today. I also feel like in today's like media world where we live online, we get our validation online, like especially for the younger generation. Oh my god. Do those fucking guys feel invisible? I can't even imagine like what the youngest generation of like iPad kids, even like younger Gen Zers as well, how neglected they have been, how they feel like their world, their thoughts, whatever, their emotions, their experiences are just absolutely non-fucking existent. And it's horrifying. Honestly, it's absolutely horrifying for me to even imagine. It's like, what degree of despair does it take to feel like the only way you can get validation is online, to follow every trend, and while at the same time being so cruel to each other in the real world, being so harsh, being so disrespectful. Have you seen those kids running at Sephora, or this drugstore? I'm not from the US, but I've seen some TikToks, and those kids at Sephora just being so rude and thinking that that's like normal, just based on like these extreme dramatic interactions that they see on their iPads, on YouTube, whatever, TikTok, because everything is, magnified, everything's more blown up on TikTok or on YouTube or whatever. And so these kids just grew up with this being their only reflection for interaction, and not even having an idea that they feel so unseen and invisible. And I guess that's reasonable because when I was young, when I was a kid, I also had no idea how I felt like because, of course, no one taught me. And so it hurts. It hurts to even, recognize the reality of how you feel oftentimes, like truly, honestly, being honest with yourself. And it hurts even more when you have to realize it often, when you realize day after day that every interaction, or at least majority of the interactions you have, is or are interactions that end up making you feel invisible. And then, it's like there's this sense of powerlessness as to what the hell do I do with that now? Because it's often and it's everywhere, and we all treat each other like that. It's like, what do I do with that? It's like, is there even a way to feel significant and feel visible and feel like you matter and feel like you're wanted? And especially if you have trauma around that, then every little interaction just triggers that, like re-triggers that, and sends you down spiraling. And there is no kindness from the outside world for the most part whatsoever. In fact, that's not even a factor because, of course, how would that be a factor? Would feelings matter and your opinions matter if we as a society are pretty much running on survival, survival mode? Oh my God, honestly, it blows my mind. It blows my mind as to how stuck in this we are as people. And well, in a way, that's okay. We are where we are. All we can do is just sit here and unpack every little detail and every little layer to kind of see what it is and where it's coming from. But yeah, realizing this, it really creates this extreme sense of just, well, sadness and powerlessness and how often it happens. And even better is just realizing that, oh, my entire life has been this. My entire life, I felt like a nobody, but not even like in a good sense, it's like, because there's certain like liberation in feeling like a nobody. But this is me more talking about the side that is trapping, the side where you feel like you're a nobody, and so what is the point in trying? And so, of course, another element of this is the way society shuns the desire for attention and desire for significance and desire to be visible, all of that. It's a basic human need, in my opinion, actualization, if you will. And it's so difficult to even see like people just fight for attention like their life depends on it, because it does, because it is like a basic human need for connection and to exist. It's like you can have the greatest house in the world and all your physical needs met, but if you still feel deep down like you don't exist, like none of that matters. And so because we run after this, we run after this attention, significance, 5 minutes of fame, whatever. And at the same time, we shun and we hate on people who do, and we judge the hell out of them, and oh my God, yeah. This is how we get these explosions of, where people have no other choice but to seek attention through, let's say, crime, or through school shootings, or through these, let's say, highly disconnected TikTok trends that aim, for shock value. Like, for example, invading random people's homes, just walking in. I saw that trend a while ago. Because in the end, like, all it is right now is just fight for survival, but not for the basic resources. Well, at least in the developed world, but for internal resources. It's like we are fighting to exist. We are fighting for our experience to exist. We are fighting for our emotions to be seen, for like, look how cool I am in this TikTok, it's like, look how well I can dance. Look how I'm running out of ideas, but look at this shiny new product I bought. Look how in touch I am with where we all are. But what we don't see is that where we all are is in this collective fight for our internal worlds to be recognized. And so I feel like when we see someone, for example, who seems like they have their life together, but not in a way where they have like material possessions, because that pisses people off. Yeah, it's like you cannot relate to them anymore, right? But at the same time, it's even more enraging when you see, or we see, people who have their internal life put together and who feel content on the inside. Like, we all chase this, but yet, like, so many of us cannot take this once we see it. We cannot accept this. We feel, jealous. And I guess we had this kind of since the beginning of, I don't know, time, or celebrities, where we feel like we want so badly to be Beyonce, for example, right? But we can't. We can't be Beyonce. And so, to avoid our jealousy, the only next step for us is to just idolize and godify this person, like they are so above us, because we feel so powerless to our own sense of significance, which is, oh my god, it's so fascinating, honestly. Like, as far as, human psyche goes, and human parasocial relationships, and all this, and social relationships and media relationships, I find that, like, absolutely fascinating. It's hella fucking painful, like, don't get me wrong, it's just, I'm talking about this and I really want to fucking cry because it just hurts. But at the same time, it's so fascinating how many, like, deep layers there are, to us as people, which we don't really acknowledge. If you feel bad about yourself, you might as well just acknowledge as to the complexity and absolute mind puzzle of a beings that we are. So I want to acknowledge, I guess, that invisibility is really a part of life, and feeling like we are a nobody. Sadly, it is normal in today's society, and it's okay. It's okay to feel invisible, and it's okay to recognize that you feel invisible, and it's okay to not want to feel invisible, and it's okay to have this complete, desperation for attention and significance, and a desire, if not desperation. And it's very reasonable. And it's also reasonable to want to run away from the pain that is sitting deep inside, from most of us never being acknowledged, and for our inner worlds never having been acknowledged, and feeling like the only control we have is trying to get these, 1 second bites, 1 second, likes, or clout, if you will. Invisibility is a part of life. It's like only when we actually, figure out and give presence and acknowledge our own deep invisibility, not invisibility where we just, acknowledge it and just continue rushing, fighting for attention, but we actually turn back into ourselves and we validate our experience, and we get to know ourselves even in all the complexities of ourselves, rather than, trying to follow the next trend and trying to fit in. We acknowledge our differences, no matter how scary they are. And I'm not talking about external differences, I'm talking about internal differences, the way we think, our beliefs, and how we differ from other people, and how we, perhaps do different things, and how we feel about certain things, because everyone feels different about, different things, and that's normal. It's just in today's society where we're all, trying to fit in into these boxes and conform with one group or the other group. It's like there is no diversity of thought. You have to think in accordance to a box, It's like whether it's, politically, or, LGBTQ plus whatever, or, spiritually or scientifically, it's like boxes, boxes, boxes everywhere. And where does that leave individuality? Where does that leave nuance? Where does that leave understanding of different camps? And because you see, this pressure that we try to, not like try, we put on ourselves and on each other, leads to this invisibility, because we try to fit in, and thus we close off to ourselves even, and to our own, nuances, and we cannot bridge the gap. We cannot find the middle ground, right, between these camps, because we just pressure each other and we judge each other, and it's all just for visibility and acknowledgement and significance in one group or the other. But I guess the question that I have for you is this: are you significant to yourself? And I know the answer to that question for most of us, most of you. I guess me on my end, I feel like I've done a fair amount of work, so I don't feel as insignificant to myself. But, well, today is an exception. That's why I'm recording this video, because I am hitting this roadblock myself today. But yeah, have you taken the time to understand yourself and be present with yourself and acknowledge your journey? Because another thing is, being in a box or belonging to a group really makes us feel larger than we are. It makes us feel like we belong. It makes us feel like we have a backing, like we have a group behind our back, or like a belief system that is supported by many people. It's very scary to think outside the box, and that's the reason for it, because it makes you feel small, it makes you feel alone and undefined. But I feel like this is where it begins, at least certainly where it all began for me, is this willingness to recognize your own smallness and your own mind and your own thoughts and your own internal world, and just that, outside of anything that anyone tells you or anything that anyone writes on the internet or tells you to think or behaves in a group mentality or any of that, really. But from there, from this first initial fear of just recognizing yourself and recognizing that, oh, there's like so much more to me than whatever way I have been programmed to think. And in fact, actually, I feel and think about these things very differently than, whatever group that I belong to, or, the society I grew up in thinks about. And from there on, you start to see that there are gifts inherent in the way you actually think, in the way you actually feel, in your own, unique journey. Unique. Uniqueness is like a theme of this channel, and I guess I do want to inspire you towards your own uniqueness. I like that. I like that for sure. Yeah, and you start discovering this true significance and true visibility once you see yourself, because ultimately everything is just a reflection of us. Inside world is a reflection of our outside world, and once we actually really start feeling visible to ourselves, we attract this true visibility, this true significance, where we actually are valued not for any superficial trend or thought that fits with some group, but for ourselves and for what we truly know we are, what we truly have learned in our life, what we have truly reflected upon, what is solid within us. And then we actually start, gathering a following or people and friends, around us who value us and who find us significant and who see us. And we don't even need, like a huge, millions of followers or subscribers or likes or comments. We already have what we want because it's true and it's honest. And when it's honest and it's solid, there is no need to get more and more. It's not an addiction. You already have it. You know what I'm saying? And I actually have experienced, or I am starting to experience a little bit of that. And let me tell you, it is so worth it. All the fear and all the, shadow work and, trauma work, whatever way you choose to do that, is, oh my God, the rewards are so deep and so fulfilling that it's incomparable to posting pictures on Facebook or, Instagram and getting likes. And I mean, there are benefits to that, and I am someone who does it. Not a lot, but so no judgment really. But when it's done from this addictive space, addictive internal space, or, like doom scrolling, for example, it's done from this addictive next thing, next thing, next thing, next thing, and it just keeps on going. Space, that is not healthy at all. So, yeah, thank you everybody for listening. I hope this helped you unpack and understand all these layers of what you might be feeling, or your friends, or, just society in general. And I certainly feel like I understood it better myself a little bit. I'll have to listen to this back later to figure it out and kind of integrate my own stream of consciousness. And I also feel like this was more of an intellectual unpack rather than any meditative or channeling situation. So I feel like I might make some affirmations, and I'll see you in the next video, and stay unique.